Well, it's that time of the year when you can get big swings between day and night, and indeed a 24-hour period. Thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook for Wednesday, the 12th of April. We're approaching the middle portion of the month. We'll look at the temperature anomaly for the month so far in a second, but these were the temperatures yesterday, and we had a pretty much a uniform 12 to 13 Celsius very, very widely across the British Isles. We had a few spots reaching 15 Celsius, as you can see here. But we had 11 degrees at Wick and Altnahara, and down on the way on the south coast, we had 12, 13 Celsius, 15 on the Norfolk coast. This is the current temperatures as of 5 p.m. And this is more typical of late February, early March in terms of the temperatures. It has been a wild day across many portions of the UK, thanks to a deepening area of not one but two areas of low pressure that has affected the majority of the UK and indeed Ireland as well. And as a consequence of the chilly, unsettled conditions, we have seen snow upwards of 230 metres above sea level. This was County Wicklow, and a fairly decent snow cover here at Roundwood in Wicklow in Ireland. So yeah, wintry scenes in the Irish Republic, as you can see here. Also, not surprising, of course, we did see snow across the higher parts of Scotland. This was at Glen Shee earlier on this afternoon. So a nice fresh covering of snow. Certainly driving up the A9 last night, I did encounter snow, a little bit of accumulation on the road. Nothing significant, if I'm being honest, and based on the fact that it was only back on the 7th of April last year where we had vehicles getting stuck on the A9 due to snow. I thought it's not really even worth hardly taking a photograph during last night. So, yeah, even though we're in the middle portion of April, hard to get snow, especially accumulating snow down at sea level, but certainly over high ground, it is nothing unusual. But certainly is a chilly day across the board. And when you factor in the strength of the wind, and we'll look at wind speeds in just a second, you can see here that it is barely above the freezing mark with wind chill here. So yeah, it certainly has been an interesting day, especially when we had such a mild day. Of course, yesterday our temperatures close to average anyway. But this is the latest radar of the Met Office Twitter feed, and you can see here the circulation, very heavy precipitation coming out of the northwest over Northern Ireland and the Republic, and indeed across a large swathe of Wales and into England. It's wrapping around that southern flank of the low, and of course it's down across coastal areas that we've seen some very significant wind gusts, and then of course precipitation on the north side of the system, riding kind of north to northwesterly, and even easterly winds across the far north of Scotland as well. So a very, very unsettled middle portion of the week. And it's going to be basically a kind of tale of two halves. We had a mild start to the week, cool and settled middle portion of the week, and then we're going to start to see a recovery in the temperatures as we progress towards the end of the week and beyond. So yeah, plenty of weather to speak about, that's for sure at the moment here. And this was the most recent wind gusts according to the Met Office, and we had a gust of 96 miles an hour at Needles O Battery on that exposed west side of the Isle of Wight, of course. Isle of Portland, 74, Mumbles Head in Wales, 71, and then we had a couple of gusts of 70 to 66 miles per hour. So yeah, some fairly strong winds, that's for sure, across particularly the southern half of the British Isles and exposed coastal areas in the last wee while or so. This was the temperature anomaly for today, according to the weatherbell.com CDAS data. You can see here some very chilly conditions compared to average, particularly so over parts of the Republic and western provinces of Northern Ireland. We're seeing some very, very cold conditions compared to the time of the year anyway. And the majority of the UK, with the exceptions of East Anglia has seen a below average day. And the month, of course, to date stands at this. So you can see here still colder than average across the southern half of the British Isles, warmer than average across the north, and indeed the bulk of Central Europe is below average as well. Now you can see here this is off the GFS, and the 2 minute temperature anomalies are of course below average, with this area of low pressure spinning around, like I say, not one but two centres, and the northern centre was bringing the stormy conditions, very wet conditions, cold conditions across the north. But we actually had another centre of low pressure of a similar depth that was actually affecting the bulk of Ireland, England, and Wales. So it was actually not one but two individual areas of low pressure. Yeah, it was associated with the same upper vortex, but certainly those two individual centres was affecting the UK, both ends of the country. So that was quite an interesting kind of feature to this very unsettled middle portion of the week. Those two areas of low pressure kind of working almost simultaneously, but also in a kind of slightly individual way in terms of the wind field and the wind distribution. But you can see here that we do see a recovery. Now, very, very cold conditions compared to average through the remainder of today. We are going to continue to see heavy rainfall, strong winds, and indeed hill snow. But it's as we progress through the second half of the week, you can see here this area of warmer than average conditions that's going to ride northeast. Now we've got this colder than average conditions, then this line, and then warmer than average. That basically is a warm front, another area of low pressure to the west of the British Isles, well out over the Atlantic. This is going to then kind of lift northeast and wipe out the cold that we've got at the moment, and we return to above average conditions. As you can see here, as we progress through the course of the weekend and into early portions of next week, we could see some temperatures that knock on the door of low 20s. So we'll keep an eye on that. Certainly, we've still got a wee bit of time to go before we get there. So we'll certainly watch this space. But if you look back at a tweet that I put out earlier this afternoon, you can see what I'm talking about with regards to those two individual centres of low pressure. There's one centred over the Outer Hebrides, as you can see here. The other, slightly less deep. Is it? No, it's actually, I suppose, it's kind of roughly the same. 975, 974 millibars. Maybe slightly stronger than northern centre as opposed to the one that's centred just to the south of the Isle of Man, as you can see here. But it's on the southern flank, across Ireland, and particularly Western Wales, through the Bristol Channel, north and south coast of Cornwall, Devon. This is where we've seen some very powerful winds rounding the bottom, that corner there, just at the at the boot, basically the tip of the country. Really, those winds were really whipping around that corner there through the Scilly Isles. I'm sure it was very, very windy conditions as well. Yeah, of course, the Isle of Portland, and indeed the west coast of the Isle of Wight through the Channel. Very, very strong gusty winds coming in out of the west as well. So certainly it has been an interesting day of weather, and it looks as if we are going to, slowly but surely get out of this very, very unsettled, cool conditions, and we will eventually start to see the recovery taking place here. You can see here that off the GFS, that area of low pressure, continues to bring a legacy of blustery showers. Some locally heavy, containing hail, thunder and lightning, and indeed gusty winds also. But this area of low pressure is filling all the while. And then, as you can see here, as we progress towards the weekend here, we've got an area of low pressure that kind of moves in. It's going to enhance the unsettled conditions yet again across the British Isles, as you can see here. But all the while, this area of low pressure here deepening, it's allowing the northward progress of this Azores high to build in as we progress through the weekend itself. There's that warm front that I was talking about, lifting north, and there's much milder conditions within the column, lifting northeast as we progress through the upcoming weekend and into next week here. So we're seeing that milder conditions take hold, and it looks as if that may, set, anchor in place. That area of high pressure becomes centered to the east of the UK. Yeah, we may become pulling in some fresher conditions from the west, or from the east, should I say, underneath this area of high pressure during the early and middle portion of next week. But it looks as if we're going to see a lot more brighter conditions. Cool in the east and the south, potentially warmer the further west you go, especially where you've got more shelter, you've got more sunshine, and you might even have some kind of local fern effect as well. So yeah, we're still look as if we're on par for more settled conditions as we progress into next week and beyond. So yeah, hang fire for now. Don't worry, we're going to pull out of this wet, cool, and miserable conditions that we've got at the moment through the upcoming weekend here. So thanks for watching. As always, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will hopefully be back again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.